Stems are, all of this stuff here has to be done. Look at one, see all the stuff you have to get before you can register one.
And here's your name.
Yeah.
Dolly Roach.
Yeah. And then I had a Gary Roach and a Dolly Roach and a Will Gibbs, Mike Fleming, Patty Lou. I'll get my Patty Lou. I had John Moody, but I lost that one there. I registered it, but here's Patty Lou registered. See, I get all this stuff. Where the heck are the other things here? The last few, here's a Joni. That was one that was another one that was got a certificate for registering it.
And who's this named for?
Joan
Hampton?
Hampton, yeah.
I thought it might be.
Yeah, here's some more of it. Here's a Gary Wayne. That's been, they didn't always give us these until my first ones. And Mike Fleming, Will Gibbs, George Roach, Silly Willie, and then there was, now I've got 3 new ones that haven't been, and a Dolly Roach. See on the back of mine.
Do you remember which was your first?
Wait a minute, I can maybe tell you. That's how I keep track of things.
Oh.
Oh, Patty Lou in 86.
1986. Wow. And who was that named after then?
My daughter.
Oh, huh?
I only have one daughter.
Okay.
And then Silly Willie was 1989. Will Gibbs was 1996. Mike Fleming was 1997. John Moody was 1997. George Roach was 1992. Dolly Roach was 1989. Gary Wayne was 1994. And now these are haven't been registered yet. Leslie Carn, I gave Will Gibbs the plants, and he has to fill it out because he had that form. He has to fill that form out every year for that one there. And then there's Ruth Olson. That's another one that I gave it to him, but he hasn't done anything with it. I mean, a couple of years ago. And then there's Crystal Anna and Erica Blythe. Those are new ones that haven't been registered yet, but they've been. I've had them for about 5 years, and then I gave them to Will because he wanted them. So, but he hasn't had time to fill out all these forms and go through all that stuff to get the. But then I have to keep track of what I've crossed to get the different plants. So you have to. This is something you have to know what all the different the name of what the plant was that you crossed them with.
Right, and those would be the lists here.
Yeah. I keep all the instead of trying to keep track of all these here papers here that I get. So yeah. Well,
you didn't start out crossbreeding it. How did you come to get involved? You told me before.
Years ago, there was a fella named Tom Wood that lived down in Shelton, and he had a bunch of greenhouses down there. And he came up here, and so my husband George said, let's go down and see what Tom's doing. And just at that time, Tom was crossing. He had crossed one, and then he was getting the seeds. So I said, "Show me how you do it." So then he showed me how you have to get the seed, and then you have to take and plant it, but you have and grow that plant for 3 years before you can register it. Right. So that's how I got going with. So then almost once a month we'd go down to Shelton and help him in the greenhouse with all the plants that he had down there at that time too.
So you were already involved with the Fuchsia Club up here.
Yes,
yeah. When did you join that club up here?
1966.
How did that come about? Were they...
Well, my husband had Meniere's disease. I don't know if you know what that inner ear.
No.
And he would he'd be standing here, and all of a sudden he never was unconscious, but he would just fall on the floor. And so he went in for surgery, and he had the eardrum removed, and he was okay. So he happened to be reading the Sunday paper, and it told that there was going to be a flower show down at the center. So he said, because he wouldn't even go to the store with me. He wouldn't even go out to the neighbors because he never knew when he was going to have one of those things. And we had the hardware store over here and started on 24th. We had the hardware store. And he would be working, and all of a sudden he would just drop. And so we knew we had to couldn't keep on. So I said, yes, because he never was interested in flowers, never paid any attention to them. And so so we went down. So then he saw this thing, and the center was going to have this show. He said, let's go down and see it. I almost dropped over dead. I thought, going down to see a show? And so he said, so we went down, and they had all these here booths with all these beautiful fuchsias in it and all that stuff, and they had a theme. Each year the show had a theme. And so he liked that, and he says, let's join. I said, George, we don't even have a fuchsia. I don't know what a fuchsia is. So we joined the club started in 65. And we joined in 66. And so that next year, so he went out and he bought a couple plants. And so he raised that plant. And so next year, he said, he grew the plant, and so he said, I'm going to enter it. But the only thing is, we didn't have a greenhouse then. Every time he'd walk by, he'd throw some fertilizer on it. He didn't know how much he had to, he just threw fertilizer on it. So we took it, we went down. Oh, that's why he painted that one up there.
Oh, that picture
that
up there
picture
in the
there,
corner.
yeah. And so we went, so anyhow, he the first year, he won Best in Show in Variegated Plants. And so from then on, he got interested in plants. And so a couple of years later, this here was Carol Forsyth. He's an artist, and he painted that one there. And so, but we had to have a booth. And I said, where are we going to get a booth? So what we did, that year each one of us had to have the Northwest, booth from the Northwest. What are we going to do? So a neighbor across the street had an old barn, or places up in Index. And so we went up there, and he was going to tear it down. So we took all those old planks, or the old pieces of wood off of there, and we made, I don't know if I had a picture someplace, but he made part of a side of a cabin with a window in it, and then there was a door, and then he had put the fuchsia up on the window. We won second prize, and that's what we won.
Wow! So you had quite a bit of success very early on with this.
Well, yeah, because see, I've always been in biology and horticulture. I mean, doing that kind of stuff. And I was always into, but he never cared about that. What he liked was that he was wanted to become an architect because he liked drawing, and he said. But his dad died in 1937, so he had to go to work to help support his mother. So he never got to go through with that. But he enjoyed that. But I can't draw a straight line. But he just had the knack for drawing. And
right.
So then he said to this one up here, he said to Carol Forsyth, he says, "Can I watch you paint?" He said, "Sure, come on down and I'll let you watch." So they both had an easel, and that was one of them. They both had an easel, and Carol was painting, and so he kind of watched how he put the colors in. And so he did that in there. And when he got through, Carol said, "Never take a lesson from anybody." He said, "You're just a natural." He said, "Someone would just ruin you," because he said, "You know, you have an idea of how things go." But he said, "Don't ever